Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into the world of nutrition.
Sounds delicious.
Well, not exactly delicious. We're actually looking at Dr. Ken Berry's Principles of a Proper Human Diet.
Ah, getting serious about food, I see. So what's on the menu for today's deep dive?
We're going deep into Dr. Berry's ideas. We've got those articles, the research you shared, even that YouTube video.
The one where he compares humans to deer.
Exactly. It's like he throws down a gauntlet right from the start. He says humans are the only species that struggles with knowing what to eat.
It's a fascinating point, isn't it? It's like we've lost that innate connection to a species-appropriate diet.
Right. Deer don't argue about whether to graze on clover or grab a pizza.
And he uses that simple comparison to highlight how far we've strayed from our evolutionary past.
Okay, so we've established humans are a little clueless when it comes to food. What's Dr. Berry's solution?
He lays out a framework, a set of core principles. He calls it a proper human diet, or PhD for short.
Catchy. But this isn't your typical diet plan, is it?
Not at all. He talks about food that grows, creeps, crawls. He's all about nutrient density and connecting our diet back to our ancestral roots.
It's like he's saying we need to look back to understand how we're meant to eat today.
Exactly. He emphasizes this idea of satiety, feeling truly satisfied after a meal.
Which is something a lot of people struggle with, especially with all the processed foods available today.
Right. He argues that our bodies are designed to tell us when we've had enough, but those signals get all messed up when we're constantly bombarded with foods that lack nutritional value.
So it's not just about eating less, it's about eating better, eating smarter.
Exactly. He challenges us to work with our bodies, not against them.
And a big part of that is choosing foods that actually nourish us and send those stop eating signals.
He calls it hormonal satiety, and it's fascinating how he explains the science behind it.
All right, so let's break down those stop eating signals a bit further. What exactly is happening in our bodies when we eat?
Well, when we consume protein, for example, it triggers the release of certain hormones in our gut.
And these hormones, they tell our brain, hey, we're full.
Exactly. Specifically, he talks about hormones like PYY and CCK. They play a crucial role in regulating our appetite and helping us feel satisfied.
So it's not just about willpower or counting calories. It's about understanding the physiological responses our bodies have to different foods.
Precisely. And Dr. Berry argues that by focusing on nutrient-dense whole foods, we can better regulate these hormones and achieve a more natural state of satiety.
It's like giving our bodies what they're actually designed to thrive on. So long story short, ditch the processed stuff, embrace the power of real food.
Easier said than done for some, but that's the core message he's conveying.
Okay, so we've got the basics of the PhD down, but where does this whole gladiator diet thing fit in?
Ah, yes. That's where Dr. Berry really starts to challenge some popular dietary assumptions.
Because we've all heard the claims, right? Roman gladiators were strong and powerful, and they supposedly thrived on a plant-based diet.
Right, and documentaries like The Game Changers have certainly popularized that idea.
But Dr. Berry, he throws a bit of a curveball into that narrative, doesn't he? He points out that, well, gladiators weren't exactly living the good life, were they?
Not really. They were often slaves or prisoners, forced to fight for their lives.
Exactly. So their diet, probably not about optimizing health, more about keeping them alive and strong enough to entertain the masses.
It's a good reminder that we can't just cherry-pick examples from history without considering the full context.
Right. A healthy diet for a Roman gladiator might look very different from what's considered healthy today.
And that's where critical thinking comes in, especially when it comes to nutrition advice. Just because something worked for one group in the past doesn't mean it's the best approach for everyone today.
Okay, so we've tackled nutrient density and debunked some dietary myths. What about fasting? Dr. Berry seems to be a big proponent of incorporating fasting into a healthy lifestyle.
He is, but he doesn't frame it as some extreme weight loss tactic.
More like a natural part of our evolutionary history, right?
Exactly. He even uses that interesting analogy of a factory needing downtime for maintenance and repairs.
I like that. It's like giving our bodies a chance to reset and optimize. Instead of constantly processing food, we're giving our systems a break.
And it's not just about digestion. Some studies suggest that fasting might also promote cellular repair processes like autophagy, where the body basically cleans up damaged cells.
Wow, that's amazing. So fasting isn't just about what we eat, it's about when we eat, or rather when we don't eat.
Right. He argues that our modern eating patterns, with 3 meals a day plus snacks, have essentially disrupted our natural fasting cycles.
So we're constantly bombarding our bodies with food, never really giving them a chance to rest and repair.
Precisely.
What I appreciate about Dr. Berry's approach is that he doesn't just focus on the science, he also brings in those practical and philosophical aspects of food.
Absolutely. He seems to understand that food is more than just fuel.
It's about culture, connection, and even ethics. Remember when he talks about that unwritten rule in the South? The closer you are to being able to put your hands on somebody, the better they're likely to behave. And then he connects that to our food system.
It's a powerful analogy. He's essentially saying that the closer we are to the source of our food, the more likely we are to make responsible choices.
And that those choices impact not only our own health, but the health of the planet as well.
It's about rebuilding that connection between ourselves, our food, and the people who produce it.
It's like he's saying we need to reclaim our role as conscious consumers, understanding the impact of our food choices and demanding better from our food system.
Absolutely. It's about moving beyond convenience and really considering the bigger picture.
And I love how he emphasizes that food can be a source of joy and connection. Remember when he talks about the importance of sharing meals and preparing food together?
It's like those traditions, those rituals around food. They're deeply ingrained in our human experience.
Exactly. And they're about so much more than just consuming calories.
It's about nourishment on a deeper level. It's about community, celebration, and strengthening those social bonds.
It's about recognizing that food is more than just fuel. It's a vital part of what makes us human. It's inspiring stuff. But I imagine some people listening are thinking, okay, this is all great in theory, but where do I even begin?
Right. It can feel overwhelming to change our relationship with food.
Exactly. So how do we take these principles and turn them into something actionable, something sustainable?
Well, I think Dr. Berry provides a really good starting point. He encourages us to shift our mindset about food. It's not the enemy. It's not something to be feared or restricted.
It's about ditching that diet mentality, right?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that food can be both nourishing and pleasurable. It's about finding a way of eating that feels good for our bodies and our minds.
He's all about working with our bodies, not against them.
Absolutely. It's about tuning in to our hunger cues, choosing foods that truly satisfy us, and, not being afraid to indulge in those foods we truly love in moderation, of course.
Right. It's about finding that balance, that sustainable approach to eating. And it sounds like a big part of that is focusing on real whole foods. Like he says, if it came from a factory, it's probably not the best choice.
Exactly. Now, he's not saying we need to become hunter-gatherers overnight. It's about making gradual shifts towards less processed, more natural foods.
So start small, make those swaps, and over time, those small changes can make a big difference.
Precisely. It's a journey, not a race.
And he's clear that there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to nutrition.
Right. We're all unique individuals with different needs and preferences.
So what works for one person might not work for another. It's about finding what works best for you.
Exactly. He encourages us to do our own research, experiment, and listen to our bodies.
It's about becoming informed consumers and making conscious choices that align with our values and our individual health goals.
Absolutely. And it's about recognizing that food can be a powerful tool for positive change, both for ourselves and for the planet.
He reminds us that a healthy diet isn't about deprivation, it's about nourishment.
It's about enjoying the abundance of delicious, wholesome foods that nature provides.
Well said. It's about rediscovering the joy of eating, the pleasure of real food, and the power we have to create positive change with every bite. That's it for today's deep dive into Dr. Ken Berry's Principles of a Proper Human Diet. We hope this has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to rethink your relationship with food.
We encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep listening to your body.
And remember, the journey to a healthier, happier you might just begin with one delicious, nourishing bite.
Till next time.